You know, when it comes to standing out, we first need to stand out in our own minds. That's the biggest challenge. So you'll see how we stage this event, and the presenters you're going to meet and hear from is all about first the mind shift and then more of the technical strategy. But we're going to start off with Dana Pharant. She teaches us to change our biggest fears, in fact, into our biggest pleasures. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Dana Pharant.
I love it. The dancers got everybody going. So my day started much like any other day. I stopped off at Starbucks, grabbed my favorite addiction, headed into the shop. It's about 10 o'clock, but hey, I'm the CEO. I can do that, right? So then my manager pulls me aside and he says to me, if we keep going the way we're going, we're going to be bankrupt in 4 months. Now, obviously, this was before I heard of Profit First, but it's never the words that you actually want to hear about your business. Now, we sat down and we strategized for about 4 hours, mapped out a plan. We had it all worked out, what we were going to do. We knew how we were going to turn it around. We had it rocking. But apparently, somebody else had a different plan. And within a span of 45 days, we had 3 major catastrophes. We had somebody break into our merchant account and steal thousands of dollars. We had 3 of our major customers go belly up and leave us with tens of thousands of debt, unpaid. And then to top it all off, our summer slowdown hits early. So at this point, there is just no recovering. The only thing that is possible at this point is bankruptcy. You guys are all business people. Bankruptcy is kind of the worst, the biggest, the scariest, right? If anything's going to elicit some fear, it's probably a bankruptcy. So now here's the crazy thing, is that I actually got through that without having any fear. When I first started telling people that, they were like, oh yeah, right. Yeah, because that sounds kind of crazy. So it's not that I'm some superhuman, but when I look back, I realized that I had actually spent the previous 20 years digging into all kinds of tools, techniques that was like an Olympic athlete training for the ultimate competition. My ultimate competition was facing the bankruptcy without any fear. And I nailed the landing. Yes. Now I'm going to tell you how the story ends up. But for now, what I want to do is I want to start to show you some of the tools and techniques that I used to get through the fear. So this is where I get a little audience participation. I need 1 or 2 people to volunteer who have a slight fear of public speaking, not a overwhelming, astounding, you can't get up on the stage, but slight to moderate. Can I get 2 volunteers? Wonderful. Okay, so just before I introduce these 2 lovely volunteers, right? I want to just set the stage. So basically, I want to take you guys through a little transformation. We're going to do a makeover on the stage. Get rid of your fear. Woo, cool. Right? Yeah. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves, and you guys in the audience, here's what I want you to pay attention to. What is their voice? What does it sound like? How comfortable do they look on stage? Once we go through the transformation, then we can see the before and after.
Hi, I'm Angie Knoll from Reconciled Solutions out of Chicago, Illinois, and we help people find peace and organization with their finances. We are bookkeepers and profit acceleration experts.
Beautiful. And just before, And so I just want to point out for the audience, you can feel the shaking in the body, you can hear that in the voice, so that we can see what you're like afterwards. Is that Kathy?
Oh, yay. Hi, I'm Kathy Ramos. I'm with IBC Bookkeeping Solutions, and what we do is we help entrepreneurs succeed. We point out the cash problems and trying to help them through that.
So again, same thing with Kathy, a little bit of shaking in the voice. We get up on stage, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, shoot, what do we need to say? So this is the thing. I thought I have to confess. So I was actually supposed to have some guests here so that you guys could all experience the fear and transformation, but the guests didn't make it across the border. The guests were dried roasted crickets that you were going to eat. Aren't you glad they didn't make it? So I suddenly, already, we're having a little transformation. This doesn't feel so bad. One of the main tools that I use to shift the fear in particular is what we call energy psychology tools. So it works with the brain science, it works with your energy system, and what happens in our system is that we get imprinted with these emotions, and then that comes up. And no matter what we try to do, what we try to tell ourselves, we can't override that fear. So if we discharge the emotion, then we are able to actually show up and stand up more effectively. And I'm gonna invite everybody to go along with me, because I'm gonna bet that no matter what you do, whether you are actually speaking or you do networking events or even just sales calls, there is some degree of trepidation of speaking out, being present, being seen. Here's what we're doing. We're gonna use our thumb and index finger, and y'all can play along. And you're gonna put this on the forehead, just kind of beside the temples. Okay, you're gonna rub here. We're gonna do some really complicated statements. Just kidding. Okay, so that's where you're gonna be rubbing. You can put your hand down for a second. So what we do with this is that we're gonna remove the charge with this magic tool, from the positive aspect of it and from the negative aspect of it. So I'm going to start out with very basic statements. First one is, I'm safe to speak out. I'm safe to speak out.
I'm safe to speak out.
And then you can just take a nice deep breath, just rub that a little bit. And then we're going to look at the opposite side of that and say, I'm safe to not speak out.
I'm safe not to speak out.
Okay, there we go. So that's discharging from both the positive and the negative aspect of what is going on. And of course, being safe to speak out is one aspect of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a little bit on you, if you don't mind. Okay. And tell me, grab the mic, tell me what it is about public speaking or standing on stage that most scares you.
Well, it probably is fear of being liked or something along those lines. And fear of not being knowledgeable.
Okay, very good. So here's the thing with the tool, is that we can take what it is that's going on in your brain, and I would suggest to people that just kind of, you can journal. What is it that's going on in your brain? What are you thinking about the fear? You're afraid of being, I'm not going to be knowledgeable. We can turn that into a statement and say, it's okay if I know nothing. It's okay if I know nothing. Okay? And then I'm going to change up the statement the other side, and it's like, I'm okay to be the expert. Yeah. And here's the funny thing, right, is that oftentimes we actually have more of a resistance to being the expert than not being the expert. Because when we're the expert, we're judged. As soon as you put yourself out there and you are seen and you are on center stage, everybody gets to judge you. Everybody gets to criticize what you're wearing, how you're standing, how you're moving, how you're talking, how you're showing up. And this is really where the core of it is. Yeah, so now we're going to get that with a statement of, I welcome people judging me. Okay? Yeah, go for the big guns.
I welcome people judging me.
Nice. And then we'll do the opposite side just for fun. I welcome people not judging me.
I welcome people not judging me.
Okay, Kathy, is there anything specific for you with regards to speaking up, being on stage, being seen?
Losing my train of thought is the big thing, I think.
Yeah, which we kind of saw in the beginning where you're stammering.
Yeah, exactly. Basically just losing the train of thought and not being able to speak articulately.
Okay, and if you're not able to speak articulately, then what does that mean?
That I would not be seen as an expert.
Okay.
There's also a fear of being snooze fest, like people are so bored by your talk. I mean, you're like, bookkeeper, oh my God, I'm gonna fall asleep and fall off my chair.
Yeah.
Or take phone calls during the middle of my speech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for you, let's again address it with a little bit in the expert. That it's okay for me to be seen as the expert.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna do this together. It's okay for me to be seen as the expert. And it's okay for me to not be seen as the expert. Good. You're looking a little more comfortable. Okay, so obviously just a couple of sentences just so we can do our before and after. So you can go through the same intro.
I'm Angie Knoll. I'm from Reconciled Solutions. We help people find peace and organization with their finances, and we help accelerate profit.
Ooh, raise your hand. Ah. Did you feel the difference? Right? Did everybody see a difference? Right? So instead of the nervous moving around, she's like just rocking and owning that stage now. Tiny little bit of shift, and yet you were standing much more in your power. Love it. Thank you, Kathy.
I'm Kathy Ramos with IBC Bookkeeping Solutions, and where we not only create great financials, we help business owners maximize their profit.
Boom. Woo! I love it. I love it. Okay. Thank you both very, very much. One of the other things about business is that we need to be fluid. We need to be going with the flow. So coming back to my story, so I decided to restructure the business. Went against my lawyer's advice, restructured, opened up under a new name. We're doing all the things. I've got to go through 50,000 changes. I'm like, let's try this. Oh no, let's try this. And at one point I sent out an email. I said, okay, change number 462. Because I had changed the way we were doing it, changed what we were going to go with in order to find what was going to work. And the only reason that that actually worked for me was because I didn't make myself wrong. I was using these tools to get out of making myself wrong and jumping into making it playful and fun. Profit First is all about fun. We had everybody up dancing before. Now, the dancing, I'm going to have everybody stand for just a second because I want to give you another tool. Another tool. Is there anybody here who has not had a failure in the last month? Awesome. Okay, so I want you to think about that failure that you had recently, whether it's small or big or whatever. I want you to think about that. And then here's what I invite you to do. While you're thinking about that failure, I want you to celebrate. Celebrate. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it, money maker. Okay? Yeah. You see, you can't help smiling. Have a seat. I'm done torturing you. So here's the thing, is that when you are playing and having fun, it is nearly impossible to make yourself wrong. And when you're playing and having fun, you actually invoke the neurochemistry in the brain to think of creative solutions, to think outside the box. So yesterday, I'm coming through airport, I got everything going wrong. It's a 1-hour flight from Toronto. It took me 16 hours to get here. So the crickets didn't arrive. So I'm like, all right, strategize, figure it out. What am I gonna do? Bring some volunteers up on the stage. I'll change it up, go with the flow. And that's the thing with business. You're gonna have to go with the flow. And going with the flow allowed me to turn my business around. Allowed me to change it. And here's the good news. So that business that was hemorrhaging about $10,000 a month, in 4 months, I turned it around to profiting $5,000 a month. Yeah. Right? And I did that because I celebrated every single one of my failures. And I stepped out of making myself wrong at every turn. And because I had done 20 years of all of this inner work and getting out of my head and dealing with the inner demons, I could actually go through that with a lot of ease. And so the hope for you is that it's like, if I am no superwoman, I have like crazies. If I can get through a bankruptcy with ease, then what have you got going on in your day-to-day life that might be a little easier? If you step out of the fear, if you step into having play and fun, celebrating your successes, letting go of making yourself wrong, how much more ease would you have in your business? Anybody with me? Like more ease, more fun? Yes! All right, so I hope that each of you will start to implement some of these tools, the techniques, into your business, into your day-to-day life, celebrate your failures, blast through all of those fears, and have a rocking business. Thank you very much.